I think there comes a point in our photographic journey that we all have the inclination at least once to try medium format film, but then finding a camera that's not going to break the bank, or one that's so cheap and flimsy that the results are underwhelming, but something which is still reasonable and allows more control when making images, and my suggestion is the Lomo Lubitel 166. From the late 1940s all the way to the 90s, it was estimated that Lomo produced around 4 million of these little TLRs, from the early consommates to the 166U, and later reproduced by Lomography, the 166 Plus. For those unfamiliar, the design can be quite strange, having two lenses on the front of the camera, but it's with these two lenses that the camera gets its TLR name, or twin lens reflex. But why two lenses? I suppose it could be due to keeping the camera more compact, not having a mirror mechanism like in SLRs. The top lens is called the viewing lens and is what you look through when composing on the ground glass, and the bottom lens is called the taking lens and is how the film is actually exposed. Because these cameras were so mass produced, there's an abundance of them available second-hand, with minor differences between the older models, with the Lomography reproduction offering the most features overall. However, regardless of what version of the 166 you choose, they all have the same 75mm f4.5 glass triplet lens design. The construction of the lens is pretty simple in comparison to modern day lens design, and of course isn't going to render the sharpest of images, but even so, the images that it can capture are going to be good enough for someone just stepping into medium format for the first time. The operation of the camera is also really simple and is pretty much all controlled from the taking lens. The aperture lever, which stops down to f22 with shutter speeds ranging from 2/50th all the way to a 15th of a second, and of course bulb. However, those with keen eyes will also notice a couple more, with one being for cocking the shutter and the other releasing it. Focusing again is the same across all models, with the lenses being linked together like a couple of gears, so it doesn't really matter which one you turn, as it will just turn the other. Though one thing to note is that the Lomography version allows for close focus to 0.8 meters, while unfortunately the older ones to 1.4 meters. The one downside with the viewfinder is that it's not overly bright. It does include a split prism, which again I think is only on the 166 Plus, but it's still hard to see unless using the pop-up magnifier. The 166 Plus also uses a flat ground glass, while the older models use a curved one, and unfortunately the older ones, it can be difficult to kind of see if you're not directly viewing it from the center. Due to the simplicity of the camera, there isn't any kind of complex film advance lever that we all might be accustomed to seeing from medium format cameras and 35mm cameras. Instead, all we're greeted with is a rotary knob and a small red window on the rear to see the frame number from the film backing paper. This can get a little annoying sometimes, as it does break the flow a bit if you're making portraits of people and then constantly having to look at the back to advance to the next frame. Because the lens and film advance aren't coupled in any way, you have to be a bit more conscious about advancing the films, otherwise you can accidentally expose the same frame multiple times. One unique thing that separates the 166 Plus is that the camera actually accepts 35mm film via an adapter. For me though, this is more of a quirk, as I'm unlikely to use this. However, what I do like about this is that the camera includes a rewind knob. But the reason why I like it is that I've sometimes accidentally advanced too far past the frame number, and the rewind allows me then to roll the film back so I don't accidentally have overlapping frames. Another inclusion is the hot shoe, while the older models only include a cold shoe mode. I bought the camera back in 2013 and used it exclusively for all of my medium format work. Even though I upgraded not too long afterwards, using the Lubitel for these past few weeks has made me realise again why I got it to begin with, and that's its size and image quality. It can become easy to just compare it to cameras like the Pentaxes, Mamiyas, and even the Yashica TLRs. And of course, the lenses of those cameras are going to be much better, but you also have to take into account that those cameras are also going to be much more expensive. Considering that you can easily pick up the earlier Lubitels on the used market for about £60 or £70, I don't think it would be quite fair to make those comparisons. Even though these do sound cheap, we have to remember that these cameras produce 6x6cm negatives, and even on a simple lens that the Lubitel has, it can capture enough information to make highly detailed images, even on an Epson flatbed scanner when converting them. I've had the 166 Plus version for a decade now and should class myself a bit lucky as the prices back then were pretty low. However, if I was going to buy one today, I'd definitely look at getting either the 166B or the Universal instead, as when you start spending the same amount of money that Lomography is asking for a brand new one, that's when you might as well start looking at other brands. As I'm not particularly interested in the additional features, it just feels like you're spending a premium for it being newer and possibly more reliable. Thankfully, it doesn't look like there's going to be a shortage of Lubitels anytime soon, and if you're looking to give the medium format a go, maybe this little Soviet era camera is the one for you.